Would you like a totally unfair advantage in your life, every area of your life, including your business and career? Yeah, a totally unfair advantage over everybody? Here it is. Retired General Carl Steiner once said, "A leader has to be physically fit." And no, physical fitness is not in itself that particular incredible advantage I'm talking about. Not at all. But you see, Steiner said this for particular reasons. He said, if you have a commander who isn't physically fit, he will not be respected by his people. His subordinates won't respect him because he doesn't have his own life in order. He is not the leader of his own life, and it's on display for everybody to see. So the magic that gives you this incredible advantage that we're talking about here is something called self-leadership. Self-leadership is a particular training, a particular discipline. It is not to be confused with leadership, as everybody does for some reason. You see, self-leadership has nothing to do with leading other people. It gives you unmistakably the capability to lead other people and the credibility to do it. And without self-leadership, in fact, without being the leader of your own life first, you do not have the capability to lead other people, and you do not have the credibility to do it. And when we see people in leadership positions who've been put there who are not the leaders of their own lives, who have not been properly trained, it's a disaster. And we see this all through our society, where our political leadership, our institutional leadership, corporate leadership, almost universally a complete disaster. Now, that's a rant for another time. So what is the advantage that self-leadership gives you? Well, as I said, self-leadership is training you how to be the leader of your own life, because frankly, no one's going to come here and do it for you. You've got to be able to do it yourself. And self-leadership's advantage is it trains you to think as a leader does, to think as a true leader does, as a highly trained leader would think. Now, keep in mind, most leaders you know have not been properly trained. A lot of leadership training is nothing more than managerial processes. Things like, how do we have difficult conversations in the workplace? How do we deal with interpersonal disputes? Here's how you deal with, here are your financial authorities. Here's how you have to handle the budget. Here are all the forms to fill out in this case, in that case. All that's management. But very few leaders are trained to lead. But if you are trained to lead, you have a particular mindset. And it is completely different than the mindset that ordinary people have. It gives you an enormous tactical advantage in the day-to-day. And a tactical advantage because, ironically, leaders don't think tactically. They think strategically. Leaders always have their eye on the big picture. They're always at the 30,000-foot level looking down, and they know in every area of their life and business exactly where to go next. So that's what leadership is in part. It's being able to see everything from that perspective. It's thinking strategically. Ordinary people think in tasks. Leaders think in systems. And there's an enormous difference. And if you're a leader, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to think in systems and be able to think in systems and put systems in place. Now, leaders have other particular qualities. Well-trained leaders never surrender their principles. And I'm not talking simply about moral principles, yes, those too, but also their standard operating procedures. I saw an interview a little while ago with a former Special Forces operator from, I can't remember the Green Berets, I think it was, but he'd worked with Delta Force, the United States Tier 1 Special Forces unit. He'd worked with Delta Force for a little while, and he was asked, okay, what did you guys from the Rangers or whatever it was, what did you think of Delta Force? And he said, we saw these people as gods. It was like in combat, they always knew what was going to happen next. They were on top of everything. Their performance was just unbelievable. And then he was asked, well, why do you think they were like this? Why were they so good? How did they get that good? The response was really interesting. He said, their absolute, uncompromising adherence to the basics. Standard operating procedures. They never look for shortcuts. They do everything almost by the book religiously, and it gets them to this level. So true leaders are like that. They will never sacrifice their principles. They will never sacrifice one other thing, which is their personal resilience, their physical, mental, and emotional resilience. They will never sacrifice it because they know it's the basis of everything else, everything they can accomplish. And they're able to dominate all areas of their life effortlessly on minutes a day because they know how to do all this. And none of this none of these qualities are dependent on personality type. So if you're thinking this is for type A personalities, or in the DISC personality system, people who are high D, highly dominant, no, it isn't. It's for everybody. Anybody can learn this. Anybody can become the leader of their own life. All they have to do is put in the effort. And the first part of that effort, of course, is, as we've been talking about in the last couple of days, defeating your biggest, most obvious enemy: overwhelm, overwork, and looming burnout. So go to the link below where you can download our new guide, which is called Crush Overwhelm Now. We talked about it in the last couple of days. It's got great stuff in it. It's pretty much paint by numbers. You will have a new life within 7 days if you follow that guide. I'm Dr. Simeon Roger, and take care. We'll be back. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.